Hey there, Michael Griffiths here, founder of Referral Marketing Guru, and great to have you with us, whether you're joining us on our Get More Referrals Today podcast, whether it is on Referral TV, our online YouTube channel, or whether it's through our social media platforms. It's great to have you with us, and really excited with our guest today, Kelvin Holiday, who's up there in Newcastle, and that's the Newcastle in Australia, not in the UK, for our international friends. I'll be introducing Kelvin very shortly. But as I said, very excited to have you with us and listening to this particular podcast or watching this particular video, depending on where you are right now, because Kelvin, without a doubt, is one of the smartest people I know in terms of helping you get your teams doing what they need to do. We know as a business owner that it's very easy to get stuck in all the doing, and then we end up saying, where I just have no more time. And to be able to scale and to be able to have a successful business, the trick very much is for you to do as little as possible and empower the people around you to be doing the right sorts of things. Sounds simple, but as I know going through this myself, not always the easiest thing to do. And that's what Cal and his lifelong leaders program really helps people to do. So I'm really intrigued to be able to listen and pick up some great tips that Cal's going to go through and teach us about how to be able to help your employees, your staff, the people around you become just as good a leader in getting stuff done as what you are in leading the business. So Cal, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Michael, mate. It's a real pleasure to be here, mate. And I'm a bit embarrassed by that introduction, mate, but I'm feeling pretty good now. It's good.
No, brilliant. So let me start us off, and for the people who haven't had the pleasure to have ever seen you or heard from you before, tell us a little bit about your story, your background.
Oh, mate, it's a bit of an interesting background. So, I started business life as an apprentice carpenter, actually, and done the building side of things for a number of years. And during that process, I come out with that very much what I call a pracademic sort of learning style, doing it and learning how to do it on the job. And look, that was a great time. Built a business there. We ended up peaking out at 174 employees, doing about a $45 million turnover in that business. And then I went off and done a silly thing and broke my back and had to totally reinvent myself. So now, we're 5 years into the transformational group. It's been going strong. It's a registered training organisation, but as well as a strategic planning organisation. So, a bit of a journey there. In the middle of it, worked for 12 years in the not-for-profit sector after busting myself up, and learnt to lead by influence rather than lead by power. Yeah,
lovely, fantastic. And I know something that the times that we've spoken, you're very big on is just becoming more productive. We all have the same amount of hours in a day, yet some people seem to get 10 times more done than other people's. What is it about being more productive?
Mate, I think for me, I'm always looking for how can I make it easier? How can I leverage time? What are the systems around? Look, I'm a bit of a tech geek, so I do sometimes look for the technical solutions. But also knowing what's important and what's not, and knowing when to delegate and when to let go. They're some of the biggest things that I find, and the whole the communication stuff. Everybody seems to be available all the time, and we feel afraid to turn phones off. All those sort of things. It all makes up. So productivity in my books is number one, to reduce your own personal stress. If you can actually be productive in 5 hours. Rather than being productive over, or non-productive over 12 hours, I'd much prefer work 5 hours productively than 12 hours and be stressed out.
Brilliant. Email. We can't get away from it these days. How do you be productive around your email?
Mate, well, I have a fairly simple sort of system. It's communications of any style. So I actually carve out periods. So I don't I don't know about anybody, but most people seem to be carrying their phones, and as soon as it beeps at them, they're trying to actually answer emails on the fly. From a productivity point of view, I carve out periods of time. I generally do that about 7 o'clock of the morning after I've done a bit of a daily ritual, know exactly what I've got to do for the day. And I just carve out 3 times a day about 1 o'clock, about midday, and just before the end of the day to answer anything. And so I'm concentrating on just getting through the emails. That's probably one of the big things. And also, and that manages your interruptions, and you just carve out that time. And also I'm using a bit of technology. So I have a triage system where if it's something I need to answer now, and I can answer it within a minute, I'll answer it. If not, if it's something that's going to be a bit longer or it's important, that's when I actually, I generally do that towards the middle of the day when I've got a little bit more or a little bit more stress relief time and nothing's urgent, and I can actually concentrate. That's what I generally do of that middle of the day. So they're the longer emails that might take a bit more thinking. And I also use, in a lot of cases now, I'm starting to use video in my emails. So instead of actually, or voice recordings, instead of actually sitting there typing, because I can't type very fast, I'll use a voice recording and send it to them and say, hey, look, I can talk faster than I can type. So here's a recording, listen to it over and over again. You can listen to it in the car rather than actually doing anything. So they're just a couple of things that I use, and it keeps me super focused. And I'm not getting that that interruption all the time.
Yeah, brilliant. As I stick with the productivity type of theme, and I think you've mentioned something at the very start around systems and systemizing things and how that then ends up helping. Really, without systems, it's very hard to scale, isn't it?
100%, yeah, mate. So, look, a lot of people think of like the CRMs and all that type of stuff, and for some businesses they can afford that, some businesses they can't. But having a system, what I call a simple system, in place to make it really work for you is essential. Because if you're just doing randomly, that's what your productivity is random. So. I use a number of different tech tools. I use Google a lot, and Google for me is one of those tools that works exceptionally well. And they've got a lot of different bolt-ons and add-ons that really help out with your communications and your productivity time.
Yeah, brilliant. And if you're you're listening to this or watching this and going, oh, I just don't know where to start with my systems. Do what we did. We didn't have any systems. But as we started to do a task, you document it. And now you don't have to go and make it up the next time. You just go straight back to that checklist, that process, that template, and now you start building on your systems. So I think sometimes people get caught up with, oh, I've got to systemize my business and just try to systemize it rather than actually systemizing it on the run, that as you do something, good, systemize it so that if you don't happen to be there, someone else would know very simply how to do that task. On the right track there?
100%, mate. If you're going to do a task twice, the first time should be the system. The second time, somebody else can do it for you. And literally, I find it's really easy. Sometimes when you're actually trying to make that system, whether it be a screenshot or you're writing something down, it might take a little bit longer that first time around. But if you're doing it 3, 4, 5 times, it just gets faster and faster, and then you can allocate it and give that off to somebody else.
Yeah, great. So let's sort of move with that sort of system theme into another part that really interests me with the stuff you're doing in terms of building and teaching your teams to do various tasks that continue to remove you from the business. Because in the end, I don't know for other people, but I would prefer to not have to work at all and have other people completely doing it for me, and just have the benefits of having a business. So if people wanted to get to the point where they get time back into their life, they get to actually do other things, they get to go on holidays, and they know that their business can continue to operate, well, obviously you need good people around you. And not only good people, but you need to train those people sort of things. Talk to me a little bit about that whole area, because I know it's something that you do a great job in, helping people to train their own people.
Yeah, I think there's two parts of it. And look, this has been a journey for me. To give you an idea, when I really first started a transformational group, I started off, I was working 12, 14, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. But that was about, always in my mind, getting that system right. And as the team grows, picking the right team members around culture, people who will adapt to your way of thinking. They don't necessarily have to be good at it. And this is one of the biggest things with recruitment of teams, a lot of people go and recruit people who are already good at doing that particular task. However, they also bring with them their own system, and they'll start to move things around. So quite often I find it's better off to employ a person about who's got the right culture around they're creative, but you actually just get along with them, so you can get this chemistry happening well, and the rest of it you can train. So I've grown this business from 3 staff, now we're at 25 in the last 3 years, and that has all been about reproducing things that I do. I'm a bit of a control freak, so the reality is that I like things done the way I like things done, and therefore I make the systems that I know that I want them to be exactly like, and then I actually make a system to build a system. And so all my other team members, can I do accounting? Yeah, I can, but do I like it? No, I don't. So I've built systems so that my accountant team and the administration team can build their own, so that if they're on holiday, somebody else can pick up the ball, and it's really simple. And mate, like this year alone, I think I'm about 11 weeks that I've had off already, away from the office. I'm actually going off for another week next week. It's turned out I'm working 1 or 2 days in the middle of it, but I'm having plenty of time out, and I'm always thinking about what's the next thing that we can do, and how am I actually going to do that. So what's the system I'm going to build around that?
Yeah, nice, lovely. And I would imagine 2 things that I'll get you to touch on that's quite important as you're building your team, and whether that's just one virtual assistant or whether it's a handful of people in the office. It really doesn't matter that I would assume that these 2 things would still be just as important in terms of what sort of resource, tool, software do you use to be able to manage tasks, to be able to get people all on the same page? And the second part to that is, how do you get people on the same page in terms of working towards the same vision, the same sort of goals?
Yeah, great, mate. Look, we use project management software. The particular software we use is called Teamwork PM, but there's a number of other ones around. There's Asana, Podio. There's a number of software parts around, and that's really, in some respects, like building a task list, and so you can track it. There's a total accountability there, but you can also make sure that you're getting those tasks built, and you know where things are at. So one of the things that we used to do, and our email, going back to that one we start off, we used to send an email saying, how are you going with this and how are you going with that? Rather than filling up your inbox with those sort of questions and micromanaging, you can just go into that project management software to go to the dashboard, and you can see exactly where every project is up to, where every task is up to, if they're 50%, 100%, and that comes as an email. So for me, if I get an idea, I quickly send an email, not to their inbox, but to their task list. And so by doing that, it dumps it out of my mind. I don't have to think about it. I know that there's now an accountability chain there for people to do it. I can send that as a text file or an audio file or a video. And so they now have complete autonomy to get that task done, and they're timelined. And then they get an email at the start of every day to say, okay, these are the important tasks to do, so they don't get overwhelmed as well. So great piece of software, project management software. And it's the way in which it doesn't matter. I actually quite often find that somebody who's not in your office is more productive than the people. The more people you get in the office, the more tendency that everybody has a chance to chat to each other. Where productivity, if they're actually working at home, funny enough, you can get more productivity when people are working at home than you do sometimes in the office. And this tool, being cloud-based, it doesn't matter if they're next door or on the other side of the world. The same tool fits all.
Yeah, brilliant. And spot on. If I just sort of share with the people who are watching and listening at the moment, our whole team is virtual, and we do that very much on purpose. We don't need a space, but through having what Kel's talking about, project management software, and for us, we use Podio. To me, they're all fairly similar to whatever you want to use, please use. But by allowing everybody in your team, no matter where they are, to be on the same page, I'm sure you'd probably agree, Kel, the number one reason why people become unproductive and things don't get done is the lack of communication. So
That's exactly right.
you've got no chance for communication to be slipping through the gaps when everybody is seeing the same thing and contributing on the same platform.
100%, yeah, and it is. It's about keeping, and it's also what I like about it is all these platforms have also got, you can capture your vision and mission and what the bigger pieces are. Some people like to know what the bigger picture is. So where does their particular task fit into the bigger goal? And so they can see that within those systems as well. So they can see, if I'm just literally doing some photocopying, they can see that photocopying is about getting the next stage of that project developed. They can see that whether it's be a marketing or whatever it might be. And in our situation, now we had some staff here going, I'm really excited because they know every time they get a photocopying done, that means that booklet becomes somebody else's educational tool. So they felt very much a part of a team at what a lot of people think is a fairly simple task, but they are all of a sudden saying, I actually contribute to people's learning by photocopying something. So that ownership part, and we celebrate that. Like we quite often will say, what's the most mundane thing you do every day that has the most amount of impact on somebody? And photocopying comes up quite often. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, right. Fantastic. So let me move now into a little bit of some new projects that you've brought on in terms of helping the business train their team members. So I know you've just launched it and created a fairly new program around that. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we've called it Lifelong Leaders, and there's two parts to the Lifelong Leader program. One is addressing the problems that business owners have of delegation and leading, rather than being the doers. And so we have a leadership program there, and it talks a little bit about what I've just been talking about today, about the productivity side of things and how to delegate and keep accountable. But the main thrust is really where I find a lot of business owners are struggling is the growth of their team. So who do I put on first? What do I put on? So the Lifelong Leader program is really about helping businesses to find the right person or people, and then get those trained well in all the technology, the system building, and the processes they need to take their business to the next level. So as a business owner or an entrepreneur, quite often we think big picture, and so we think of all the, what are the visions, I want to achieve this goal, but we don't get much into the detail. And so the Lifelong Leader program is about feeding detail to the people at an employment level in your team, to really give them the skills, and not skills like you'd see in a lot of training programs that are very generic. These are very specific. So let me give you an example. Websites. If you're not on the web these days, you're not on. You're nowhere. And so there's particular techniques around that, doing like Facebook marketing, etc. So we will give the training around how do you build a Facebook profile and campaign. Some of the stuff that's some of the stuff that I'm going to be getting you to join in there. So we've got experts to train that particular area, and then get a website built, so that it's actually productive and actually making things happen for you. And look, these things, some of those things we're still in some respects learning ourselves. We're not the experts in everything. That's why we're calling upon. We've got 7 different experts that are going to come along and do the training and do webinars, etc., for us. And it's going to be a bit of a game changer.
Yeah, lovely. So really, it certainly helps rather than a business owner having to have it all in their own heads and become the expert of everything, which we don't really want to be. It's been able to allow you to delegate to team members and go, great, I'd like to be able to do this. Here's the training on it over here. Please learn it so that you become the expert for me in our business. And it's really training the team rather than having to train the actual business owner themselves.
That is 100% correct, mate. And it's also about educating the business owner to let go. Because quite often as I said, I'm a bit of a control freak. So, for me to be able to delegate onto somebody else, I've got to know that they know their stuff. And so that's what this is about. So you can let go with confidence.
Yeah, beautiful. And how do people find out more about that particular program and also connect with you in general?
Mate, I'm going to throw out just my email address on this one. I'm actually still in the process myself with the Lifelong Leader program of putting a landing page together for it. But if anybody wants to find out, come straight to me on my email, which is kel@transformgroup.com.au. Just throw me an email. I will make sure, just connect with me, and I'll give you all the information you want about the Lifelong Leader program and outsourcing. Or even if you're in New South Wales, I know a couple of people are probably out there in that. We'll be looking at how we actually help you recruit staff. And one of the things we're going to be doing is how do you do it for as little as $1 a week, which is quite an interesting sort of program.
Yeah, brilliant. So whether you're listening to this on Get More Referrals Today podcast, whether you're watching this on social media or on Referral TV, if you look at the description, you will see the email in there for you to be able to email Kel straight away. And if you're on social media, look for Kel being tagged into the description, and you can just click on that tag and go and connect with him, whether you are looking at this through LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. You will be able to find Kel in any of those platforms and be able to say hello and be connected. Also, if you are part of our Open Michael Griffiths Facebook group, Kel is in there. You'll always see him pop up every now and then and make comments and chat. So make sure that you connect with him in there also. There's certainly many of those to Kel's business and background and experience and network. So he's certainly a great person to build a relationship with and can help in many different ways. So I would definitely encourage you to be doing that. At the same time, whether the leader program is of interest or not, there are many things that Kel and Transformation Group can do as an RTO. And I remember, Kel, you saying a completely different side note, but I'll bring it up now that it's in my head, how you very much help people through various government grants to be able to bring on staff and pretty much get, if not get paid, come pretty close to breaking even because of the grants available to bring on staff members into your business.
Yeah, so that's one of the successful strategies. That's how I grew my staff so quickly. And to give an idea, like we employ staff here, and I make between $3,000 and $5,000 profit in a 12-month period out of every staff member I employ, which is quite not a bad little profit margin. And actually get staff to actually make it happen. Can't happen that for everybody, but as little as $1 a week on average, it'll cost you.
Yeah, brilliant. So sorry for the people who are watching this in the US, the UK, you can't get in on that sort of stuff. But as I said, Cal's certainly somebody worth knowing and worth connecting with because he's certainly got fingers in a lot of different things and a very great operator there worth being in touch with. So in the description, use Cal's email address. Friend him, connect with him, like him, all those wonderful things that we get to do these days, and make sure that you're around there. Cal, anything else there that you want to add? It's been a good little segment.
Mate, no, I think we've covered off a bit. I'm as I said, mate, my head's starting to come down in size after all those nice little things you've been saying. But look, it's just been great being out there, and I am here to help. It's I love to help people. It's really at the core of who I am. And if any advice anywhere, and if you're in another country, look, there are other things, and I can give you some tips and strategies around where you might be able to go and what you might be able to search for in Google to be able to get those things as well. So happy to help there as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks very much for joining us, Cal. For those people who are either watching this, listening to this for the very first time, do make sure you come pop over where Cal is in our Facebook network group. It's where I bring our network together to create opportunities with each other. So in the description, make sure you come join us there. And you can always get some great resources on how to generate more referrals over at referralmarketingguru.com.au/resources. So till next time, thank you very much for joining us on our Get More Referrals Today podcast or on Referral TV or just watching this through our social platforms. It's been great having you with us. Cal, thanks so much for joining us.
Been a pleasure, buddy.
And I look forward to catching up with everyone again real soon. Take care, all.